Welcome to Life Transformation Radio. This show is all about life transformations and our journey from where we were to why we are doing what we are doing today. We will discuss the hiccups, the roller coasters, and the blood, sweat, and tears that has been poured out while discovering our purpose. It is all about our transformation. Here is your host, Sean Douglas.
Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. Welcome to another episode of Life Transformation Radio. I am your host, Master Resilience Implementer, TEDx speaker, business positioning strategist, and best-selling author, Sean Douglas. This show is currently heard in over 79 countries. So whether it's your first time joining us or you've been listening to us for some time, I want to thank you to those who are listening from around the world. Life Transformation Radio is all about our transformation. Here is where we tell the stories of why we're doing what we're doing. We highlight that transformational moment that changed our lives and how we use it to then transform others and elevate their lives as well. You can listen to us live right here on the Blog Talk Radio Network, Tuesday through Friday at 5:30 p.m. Eastern Time. Join our Facebook group, Life Transformation Radio Community, and never miss an episode by subscribing wherever it is that you listen to podcasts. Life Transformation Radio can be heard on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Spreaker, TuneIn, Player FM, Radio Public, Overcast, CastBox, the Himalaya app, Google Play Music app, Pandora, and you can subscribe to our YouTube channel, Life Transformation Radio, right there on YouTube. But wherever you listen to podcasts, please subscribe to the show, wherever it is that you listen to podcasts currently, and be sure to leave a rating and review to let us know how we're doing. On the show, my guests are entrepreneurs, speakers, business owners, podcasters, authors, amazing human beings that are impacting the world around them. And my guest today has done exactly that. If you have any questions for any of the guests that I bring on the show during our live broadcast, just call us up at 657-383-1109. Again, the number is 657-383-1109. You can dial in, talk to the guest, talk to myself, ask us questions, be a part of our show at 657-383-1109. Team is standing by right now to field your calls so that we can answer your questions. And with that, I want to welcome my guest for today, the amazing, I'm going to mess this up though because I can never pronounce it, Anah Reichenbach.
You got it right.
Oh my gosh, I practiced too.
Good job. I'm amazed.
Oh my God. How are you doing?
I'm really good. How about yourself?
I am doing really well. I finished out January really, really well. I mean, really.
Oh, that's good to hear.
Like really good. You know, it was one of those. I mean, because everybody knows, like I'm in the military. I do this stuff on the side. I've got a business, I got a team, I've got, things happening, but, I can't dedicate the time that normal, 10, 12, 15 hours a day that, people can do. But managed to finish off January with a 10K month. Managed to have the highest guest, the highest guest that I've had on the show in a very long time. I had Forbes Riley on the show. And I had Ron Klein on the show, and Ron Klein is the one who invented the magnetic credit card strip and the MLS number for real estate agents. So I had him on the show, and all the guests were amazing. But January was one of those months that I absolutely loved because everybody's in that new year, new you mindset. They're spending money, they're bettering themselves. Everybody's like, I got to set the year off right, and then people who have a heart-centered business like mine, usually do really well. And then it sets the tone for everything else. So I'm pumped.
Yay. Congratulations.
Thank you so much. And I'm excited because we get to finish out January. This is awesome. I get to finish January on a Friday with an amazing guest who I was mind blown when I met you and saw what you were capable of doing. I was like, oh my, like it was a no-brainer. Like I have to get you on the show. Like this is going to be absolutely incredible.
Awesome. Thank you.
So the title of this episode is The Modern Art of Hoop Dance with Anah Reichenbach. Driven by a troubled childhood from an early age, Anah asked the big questions. Who am I and what is life for? Desperate to heal, she rediscovered her natural joy in the unlikely form of a hula hoop at a music festival. This chance encounter would lead to 20 years of performing and teaching her own creative form of hula hooping, the modern art of hoop dance, sparking a worldwide resurgence in hula hooping for dance, art, fun, and healing. Anah lives to bring light to the deepest experiences in life and loves to share her insights, humor, experiences, and healing process with others through her blog, speaking, worldwide workshops, and retreats. Her website is deep and light, LIGHT.com. And there you can get her free gift of the 5 simple practices for a better day. I suggest everybody go to that website, download that free gift, and just have a better day. Go to Facebook, right there in the show notes. She's on Twitter. She's on Instagram. Connect with her. Send her a friend request. And connect with her and send her a message letting her know that she was heard on Life Transformation Radio. And the first question I have to ask for you, and I believe is the most important question you can ever ask yourself, is why? Why do you do what you do?
Oh, gosh. Well, I mean, there's many aspects to what I do now, so it's less of a simple answer as it might have been in the past, but everything that I do is driven by healing. You know, I think that when you are a person like me who, you know, didn't have the easiest time growing up, there's a lot of suffering involved. And if you're also a person like me who came into this life with a native energy of celebration, you know, I had like a natural joy for living that kind of remained, even though it was way shoved in the background, and it was a driving force to find a way to get out of the suffering. And, you know, thank God I've done that to a massive degree so I can actually enjoy my life now and be a resource for others to help, you know, them enjoy their lives better. And you know, life is beautiful. It's like too short to spend just kind of accepting that suffering is just the way that you have to live and that there's no other option.
Wow.
So, yeah.
And with that, I mean, there's a lot in there. And with that, some people think that there is no other option. And that's why we see a lot of suicides, because there isn't another option. There is no other way. I was one of those people, you know, you know, on the brink of suicide, like acting. And it does. It feels like there's no other way. Like it's just, at some point, it's just not worth it. You know, like if there's car accident and a house fire and one after another, at some point it's like, you know what, I'm over it. I'm done. I don't want nothing to do with this anymore. Like, this sucks. You know, and it becomes, I've seen grown men completely break down because their business is failing, the family is failing, the house is being repossessed. I mean, think about everybody in 2008 and 2009. We always reference back to that. And it just sparked something in me when you said that, because it's like this is what happens. This is what happens if you don't properly heal as well.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, here's the thing is my perspective on healing in general, like it relating to what you're saying, is that, you know, bad shit can happen to anybody, right? But if you are in a state where you haven't dealt with your core wounds, you're going to take that in a much harder fashion than if you're in a closer to a healed state, right? So if you have done the work and you have dived deep and you have done whatever healing looks like for you, then when shit happens, you can roll with it. It might still suck, but it's not going to spark all of those old wounds that are just dying to be healed. So, what happens when we take things really, really hard and really, really to heart is that, my perspective is the universe loves us so much that it wants us to heal, and it's going to keep poking the bear until you decide to turn towards what your real suffering, what the real source of your suffering is, and deal with it, right? So once you've done the lion's share of that, then when bad shit happens, it's not that bad. It just really isn't, It, like I said, it can suck, but it's not going to hurt to the point where it derails you.
You bring up a good point about you have to be close to that moment that you're on the other side of that healing. It's almost like the bridge that needs to be crossed, or the tipping point that needs to be crossed. And I remember when I first joined the military, and the stress of the military was bringing up some childhood trauma that some abuse that I endured, and then combined with alcohol at age 18, 19, 20 years old, and using alcohol as a crutch to fill the gaps, fill the wounds, which then pushed me further down into those wounds, which made me feel a little bit more, which made me drink a little bit more so I wouldn't feel, and then it moves on to other things.
Right.
Is just a testament to what you're saying. There's no way that I went into the military with like a horrible outlook on life, growing up on the wrong side of the tracks. I always say the wrong side of the track.
Yeah.
And just growing up, moving around so much. I went to, was it 11 different houses and 8 different schools? It's just it was awful. And I was not in any place healed at all. And you know what? People get into marriages that way. People get into relationships that way. People make decisions.
Oh, whole careers. Yeah.
Oh my God, careers.
Yeah.
It's like a whole other episode.
I know, right? Yeah. I mean, my experience of what you're describing is that it's when bad shit happens to us when we're too young to be able to contextualize it, when we're too young to have the resources necessary to deal with it, and when we don't have the proper support around us to witness that we're going through something and to help us through that, right? When so many of us that hold that trauma from the past, when we have those experiences, it's like there's a part of our personality becomes crystallized in those moments in the past. And a lot of the healing journey is just beginning to allow those crystallizations of identity to begin to unravel, to be heard, to get what they didn't get way back in the day, and to begin to find your resources as now an adult to give that to those parts of ourselves that didn't get what they needed. Yeah. So there's a lot of process involved in that. But on this other side of it, it's actually very simple. It's simpler than we would think, because when you're inside of it, it's very confusing. It's painful. You don't know what the fuck is going on, right? It's just like, I hurt and I just want to not hurt anymore, right?
Right.
But ultimately, it's very simple. It's literally just turning towards instead of away, and offering all of the love that you can possibly muster to that part of yourself that hurts the most. That is the simplest definition of healing that I've ever heard. It's not my definition, but it's what helps me the most when I'm the most confused and I'm in the most pain. And when shit's coming up again, it's like, okay, how do I turn towards and how do I offer the most love available to me in this moment to the part that hurts the most within me? And then you can survive anything.
But why would I want to do that? Why would I want to turn towards the pain when I want to run away from the pain? Why would anybody do that?
I know, because that's the only way through is through, right? It's all of the suffering. Here's the thing: pain is unavoidable. Suffering is actually avoidable. The suffering happens when you run away, because it makes it drags the whole process out and makes it so that it's your whole lifetime rather than a really sucky moment or two or maybe a day. So the things that we can point to, like, wow, there's my suffering, it's usually the things that we have been running away from the longest, and are the things we want to feel the least. And so then its only option is to remain in the background of our lives and become an aspect of just who we think we are. Oh, that's just what happens when someone says this certain thing to me, or that's just how I react when I'm reminded of my childhood. Those things are actually optional. You don't have to live that way. If you turn towards consistently enough and begin to reroute your personality, your identity in a higher aspect that can love those hurt parts, then you're no longer stuck with those reactions, with those responses, with that identity even. Your identity can shift in incredible ways. Like, we are absolutely not stuck in who we have been because of our childhood.
Right. Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
That's awesome. that was really good. But it makes so much sense.
Oh, you're welcome.
You know, that's why I love doing this show, because you get a whole nother perspective, and you're like, yeah. You like connect some dots in your head, and you're like, that's why all right. You know, it's like a therapy session.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
So the whole focus of the show is about transformation, right?
Yes.
Transformation.
Yes. My favorite thing ever.
I don't believe life is all, right? I don't believe that life is all sunshine and rainbows. I think that moment to moment, things happen to us that deliberately put us on the path to what we're doing today. And so I ask you, what is your transformational moment that changed your life and put you on the path to what you're doing today?
Yeah, which one do I even talk about? There's so many.
Right.
Yeah. And what you're saying is similar to what I talk about in a slightly different way, is that, our challenges in life that we went through, especially the most painful ones, are absolutely designed to give us the experience we need to create the skills that we need to bring our gifts into the world. So I'll give you a kind of an embarrassing but funny and strange example. Okay, so when I was a kid,
love it.
One of the responses from trauma, and I found this out way later, is bedwetting. Okay, so this is, and specifically as it relates to sexual trauma, things like this, right? So I began bedwetting, didn't stop when you're supposed to stop bedwetting. I had the plastic sheets, the whole thing. It was super embarrassing, and even to the point where I would hold it to the point, like if I was at school or something, where I just couldn't make it to the bathroom and I would pee my pants, and it happened a lot. It was really embarrassing and awful. And part of the issue at the time, too, was that I had kind of retreated from life into my dream life, to where I could not tell the difference between dreaming and waking. Like, I had a very mystical, trippy, just childhood in general. That's just kind of how I came in. So I had all these little tests for myself where I'd close my eyes and count to 3 and then open my eyes. And if it was the same, then I was not dreaming. And if it changed, then I was dreaming. So I had these little weird tests. So I was already a dreamy, weird kid, right? And, the doctors tested me. No one could figure out why I was wetting the bed. And I finally figured it out is because I, most of the time, I would dream that I was on the toilet and I couldn't tell the difference. And so I'd pee the bed, right? So I began asking myself every time I went to the bathroom, waking or not, I couldn't tell anyway, am I dreaming? And anyone who knows anything about lucid dreaming is that all it takes to lucid dream is to answer the question, am I dreaming, with a yes in the dream, and then you're lucid in the dream, right? So the gift of this whole painful, embarrassing thing that was absolutely linked to trauma is that I began lucid dreaming at the age of 6 or 7.
Wow.
And it's been an incredible gift still, this ability to be extraordinarily, like in some of my dreams, I'm as conscious there as I am in my waking life. And so I've had all sorts of adventures there, which is amazing. I've actually gotten some very strange, like dead on medical advice in my dreams. That was like, I don't know how that could possibly happen. That was dead on. So,
right.
So out of this challenging, embarrassing, demoralizing, trauma-induced events in my childhood, I got this lifelong gift of lucid dreaming. So, yeah, that's just one kind of example.
I'm completely fascinated by certain abilities that I have no idea, and you would think that that's fake. But the more I dig into it, and the more I'm like, people call like woo woo, like, oh, it's so woo woo, and you have all these energy healers and spiritual awakenings, and I was at the Spartan race on the media team last September, and a lot of guys were talking about Burning Man, and a lot of them were talking about like an LSD, but it wasn't LSD. It was like LTD or LDP or something like that. I'm like, oh, what is that? And they're like, oh, it comes from animals. Huh?
There's some fancy shit out there now. I try to steer clear of those.
I'm like, and I was like, well, what is that? And I'm like, let me Google it, because like that's my. It sounds funny, but that's kind of like my BS meter, like my BS kind of test. Like, let me see what Google says about it, And I look at different news articles, because I'm like, what's on the news articles? What are they saying? What is Wikipedia saying? What I gather all of the information all at once, and then I make a determination whether it's fake or not or whatever. Because there's so much contrasting information or contradicting information, then it's all a ridiculous hoax, and I don't even want to hear anything about it no more, right? But they were talking, and it was consistent, like, oh, it comes from animals, and it comes in little parts of animals, but your brain already makes it, and if you induce a lot of it into your system, then all of a sudden you have what?
Are you talking about DMT?
Yes.
Okay. Yes. DMT, major stuff. Yeah.
And so they have these like spiritual awakenings, and like they're in like a fourth dimension. I'm like, what are you talking? Like, this is ridiculous. What are you talking about? And then as I dig into it, I'm like, no way. I'm like, oh my gosh. So it's like all this spiritual healer.
Yeah.
And I'm like, this is crazy. But like you dig into it, and I'm like, I'm fascinated. So just like lucid dreaming, I've heard. I don't know. You're the first person that I've actually like talked to in person, but I've like watched a YouTube about it, or I've heard about this thing, but I've never actually, done it for myself or known anybody to do it. But now I do. So it's awesome.
Yeah, it's pretty wild. I don't do it as much as I used to because I had to shift my sleep schedule to actually have a productive life. But for a time there, it was like my saving grace. I would sleep for 12 hours a day. And just dream for most of that time. Yeah, like for a long time, it was my way that I dealt with trauma. Is that I, went into my dream world. It was much more fun there. I was talking to aliens. I was going back in time. I was going through wormholes in space. I was like fighting off, like reptilian creatures to save cultures that don't even exist. Like I was like having this like magical life. It's kind of like, why would I want to wake up and go into my shitty life? But I came to this point of like, okay, you know what? I can do all of that stuff once I'm no longer in this body, and I came to this world for a reason. So let me try to find out what that is. I am here in this body having this human experience, and why would I spend it doing stuff that I can do in the astral when I'm done with this life? Let me find out what I'm here for. So the hooping started not too long after that.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to talk about, because I was like, what? And when I heard you talk about it, you had the hula hoop, and I'm like, what? Like, this is awesome. Because I remember like doing hula hoop like when I was a kid. It's like a kid thing, right? Like I was like, oh, hula hoop. Like all the dudes started doing it. You're like, oh, you look so funny and stupid. You're such a girl. To get made fun of. Like, but I want to do it. Like I want to try. And then I remember they had skip its. So you would put it around your ankle, and then you would skip it. I couldn't either. I don't know, not corded. I don't know. But then jump rope was a big thing when I was a kid. Like everybody was jump roping, but so talk about what if you remember what it was. Talk about what it was that like you had the hula hoop and you were on stage and you were just talking about where it came from and your healing moment, like because it's fascinating to hear you talk about it.
Yeah, so the hoop, it's funny because I didn't really realize it at the time, but the experience of jumping into the hoop for the first time as a bitter, jaded, disgruntled 21-year-old who had just dragged myself through the mud after being dragged through the mud of my childhood. And the experience of hooping for the first time, it's like it gave me all of the feelings of being the kid that I was before all the shit happened. It all came right back into my body. So all of the play, all of the joy, all of the passion, all of the freedom of expression through my body just came right in. And I didn't realize how much I desperately needed that. You know, a common thing when people have childhood trauma is that you feel like your childhood was stolen from you, right? You had to become an adult too early to try to deal with what was happening that you couldn't contextualize, and especially if you don't have adults around you that are aware or can or are, you know, capable of dealing either, then you really feel like that, right? Like I had to become an adult at 9, you know, that really sucks. So to have something give you that feeling back of that childhood that you feel like you missed is really powerful. And the hoop does that in a way that is so unassuming, you know. It's just like this. It's just a plastic circle. It's just, you know, people kind of discount it. It's like, oh, yeah, it's been around since the 50s, like whatever. But then you get into it, and for so many people, so many of my students, I cannot even tell you how many, like, letters I've gotten or, you know, tearful shares from people about what the hoop did for them, that the power is undeniable at this point, that it creates this, it's kind of like this magical vortex that is a very safe space in which to move your body. I think for that reason, it is probably why it draws a lot of, especially women who've had some kind of sexual abuse, is you don't feel safe to move your body. And so you shut down your expressions, and that's not healthy, obviously. So then you step inside of the hoop, and you have this physical boundary. There's an actual physical boundary between you and the world. And because you want to keep the hoop up, you begin to move your body. And possibly you begin to move your body in a way and with a freedom and a sense of pleasure that you haven't given yourself permission to in a very long time. So that in itself is healing, right? And you have this safe space in which to do it. So, yeah, there's just, I could go on and on and on about the healing power of the hoop, obviously.
I just think it's so
really
amazing.
The main thing the physical embodiment piece was, I'm a very physical person. I came in this way, and I needed a safe place in which to express my true self, and the hoop gave me that.
And it's so unexpected because you're like an adult with a hoop. Like, what is all this? Like, whatever, you know. And
I had to have so many enrollment conversations in the first few years. Let me tell you.
That's funny. I thought it was brilliant. I was like, I'm hooked. You have my attention, right? But that's what you want, right? You know, we all go through these moments in life. We all go through these transformative places in our lives that really have transformed our mind, our body, our soul, spiritually, physically, mentally, emotionally, socially, moving moments in our life. And after that, it's almost like we want to give back, or we've learned some things. You know, it's like when somebody with a child, you know, is falling off a bike, whatever, like you're guiding them because you fell off your bike. Later on, it's like, oh, just do this in school because I was in school, and we're giving them our information. We're giving them our experience. It's why grandparents are so fun to talk to because they've lived life. You're like, so grandpa, grandma, whatever, tell me about, you know, whatever. Like there's a song, like, tell me about the good old days, you know? So, and it's just, you know, I think about that a lot, you know, because I have one set of grandparents, one on each side, one grandfather and a grandmother, one on each side, left because the other ones have passed. And I'm just like, oh man, like it's going to be part of my childhood that goes. It's like I used to be a huge wrestling fan, and every time an old school wrestler like passes, I'm like, oh, I watched it. It was my childhood. And it's that moment that I take with me, right? It's those moments, and I say all that because as I hear you talk, you found the moment, and now you physically, with a hoop, carry that moment with you, and it's a conversation starter. And so that's ultimately, as a speaker, as a business owner, as a podcaster, a blogger, whatever it is that people are doing, you want to get people's attention. And how will you do it? You got my attention. Immediately, I was like, "What's with the hoop? Oh my God, that's brilliant!" And then he started talking about it. And he started, telling a story. The story, like with the hoop, and it was absolutely brilliant. And I think if more people did that, then we would start to see more definitive transformation happening in the world than we do now.
If more people did the hoop, or if more people did something that was like what you're saying of a conversation starter, like of making themselves known.
Yep, make yourself known. Have something that's a conversation starter. Like I started my TEDx talk off with, in 2008, I tried to kill myself. Everyone's like, like you just hear it in the audience. Like, I got your attention now, don't I? Right? Most people enter conversations with, what can I get out of it, instead of what can I offer? Most people enter a business deal with, what can I get out of this, instead of what can I offer? And if you just flipped it, because you were offering something, like you went out right away, and you're like, this is me. Like, this is this hoop, and this is what happened. Da, da, da. And, and if I could give anything back to you, I mean, it was just like, you were just so giving. And I'm like, yes. Oh, if we had that type of conversation, like if we had that type of conversation, rather than at a network event going, oh yeah, what do you do? And how can it help me? And, in this selfless mindset,
oh, it's so boring.
We need to have a giving mindset.
Yeah. Geez, you should go to Burning Man.
I would probably go to prison, because being in the military is probably not a great place for military people to go.
Why? I know lots of military people go. I have a friend who is a Navy SEAL. He went to Burning Man every year for like a decade.
What? But he didn't do any of this stuff that normally people would do there. I mean, he's just looking, right?
No. Here's the thing about, I know them going left field here, but Burning Man is, you think about Burning Man. Burning Man is the third largest city for that week alone in Nevada. So it's a city. It's a full city. You could go there and find anything you want. I mean, my best years of Burning Man was 100% sober. They have AA meetings at Burning Man. You can go just for the art. You can go just for the music. You can go just for the incredible social experiment of relying on each other and relying on yourself, and not exchanging any money, but exchanging gifts. So that's really what it's about, the gift economy. So it's not even about barter. It's about gifting. It's about, what can I bring and offer to the community freely. And so if everyone's doing that, it creates a really beautiful atmosphere. So just to experience that alone is worth going. You can absolutely steer clear of any element that you don't want. It's super easy.
See, that makes it a lot more beautiful and enjoyable, because the way it was explained to me was that if you go to Burning Man, you will have a significant emotional and spiritual experience. I was like, what?
Well, yeah. I'm
like,
but that's a good thing, though.
But you said sober, but a lot of people that go are using these psychedelics, that I'm not allowed to partake in. You know what I mean? And they're using psychedelics.
It's not necessary at all. There's already like dragons driving by you in the middle of the desert. Why would you even need psychedelics? Like, it's totally unnecessary. Like, how much do you need? I mean, come on.
It was the way that it was explained to me was, man, you got to go to Burning Man. Like,
no,
I guess I should consider my
Think of it. It's a city. It's a city. So you just connect to the right people. You just got to get connected to the right people. Yeah. I'm not saying that people don't use a lot of entheogens and psychedelics, and they do. But you can absolutely go and have a better, in my experience, my best Burning Man was when I was 100% sober, like not even pot. I went and it was the best ever. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, I've definitely considered it, but I was kind of scared of that. I was like, I don't know, and I can't really get involved in it. But, I don't know, maybe revisit it or something. Maybe me and the wife will go and,
I think it will
have
blow
a
your mind.
spiritual experience.
I think from knowing you for this short little bit and the things that you've said, I think it would blow your mind and you would love it. Yeah.
Oh, it's amazing. So let's talk about how you have taken everything that you've learned, the moment, the why, the hoop, and how are you currently elevating the world around you?
Oh, gosh, you ask so many big questions.
We ask the hard
the
questions
first
on this
answer
show.
that comes in, the first answer that comes in is just to be really committed to elevating myself. To me, you're never really done healing. I think that there's just more layers, there's more places to go. You can do like the lion's share in certain areas, and then other things pop up, so you have to be really committed to continuing to elevate yourself into your next level. So that's like my number one way that I elevate the world around me, because I am the center of my own universe, as you are, as everyone is, and what you do and how you choose to be in life absolutely radiates into the world around you. So for me, that's absolutely number one. On a more practical level,
love it.
I love writing things that are not just like blow smoke up your ass uplifting, sometimes that comes out, but to me, when I'm the happiest with things that I've written is when it embraces the paradox that is inherent in true truth. To me, unless there is a paradox in what you're speaking, you're only looking at one side of the story. So I totally geek out on being able to channel information. And I'd say that not necessarily from a woo-woo way, but from everyone has a genius, right? An inner genius. So that's where all your best stuff comes from. So being able to channel from my highest genius, articulating.
Most of mine comes while I'm in the shower.
Yeah, exactly, right? So my favorite way to contribute to the world right now is to speak about things that are as complete as possible, and that helps people to maybe open their mind in different ways, look at things in a different way, and just to have, I want to share that aha moment. That's my favorite moment, when you have that big insight, and to be able to articulate it such that you can help someone else find their own insight, even if it's not the same as yours. That's what really turns me on. So that's my big way of uplifting the world right now, and doing that hopefully in bigger and bigger ways through writing in my blog and hopefully speaking on bigger stages. And I do retreats all over the world too, and that's a really amazing way to sink in with people. So I'm mostly just being with people.
Oh yeah,
I just love to 100%. Be with people. Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah.
I love it. So if the listener right now is going, oh my gosh, I have to know more about her. I really got to know about this hula hoop thing. We talked about Burning Man. We talked about ways about healing and transforming, and it's so incredibly amazing to do all those things. Let's do a shameless plug. You can plug programs, products, services, free gifts, offers, whatever it is that you want the audience to do with this episode. Shamelessly plug. Go.
Yeah, the number one thing is to just really allow themselves the space to find their own path of healing. It's going to look different for everybody, but sometimes it just takes taking a pause, right? So that to me is the number one thing. If you want to get more connected to me, my website is the best place to go. I've got blogs on there that you can read and comment on and ask questions about. That's super fun. I'm creating a new workshop called Dancing You, and it is a combination of ways to use movement, specifically dance and even hooping or any kind of flow art, as a transformational tool and a way to have more self-knowledge and self-awareness. And it's also going to be a lot of fun. There's tons of celebration involved as well, because life is heavy enough. We need to freaking have some fun to balance things out. So I'll be traveling up and down the West Coast starting in the summer with that workshop. It'll be a weekend workshop. So it's kind of like a mini retreat, but super accessible. And I'll be doing it by train. So I'm going to be inviting people to jump on a train with me and take a ride up the coast. If you're in on the West Coast, that's probably the easiest way to jump in and have an experience of life with me. So I'm really looking forward to that. I think it's going to be really sweet, and it's going to create some incredible openings. And of course, if you have events and you want me to speak on your stages, I'm available for that too. So you can just reach out to me through my website, deependlight.com. Probably the best way.
I love it. That's so amazing. Like, we're gonna take a train ride. We're gonna do some healing. We're gonna do some work together and some transform lives. And so amazing.
Yeah,
so
I want to bring romance into like communal activities, not like from a sex perspective, but from like a love perspective. Like, how romantic to get on a train with a beautiful group of people and go have an experience together. Like, I love that. So yeah, that's what I'm creating. Love it.
Super cool.
Yeah.
If nobody listens to what we talk about, if nobody listens at all until this moment, and it hits them in this moment, what is the takeaway, the red thread, the through line of this episode? What is the one message that you want to deliver to the listeners?
Yeah, that the experience of their fullness of life, their full experience of who they actually are, is absolutely dependent on their ability to pause and turn towards themselves rather than away. And that if they do that, they can handle anything. We can handle anything, and not just handle it, but freaking kick ass. You absolutely can not just handle what's happening in your life, but you can thrive because of it. And I look forward to sharing that kind of space with as many of your listeners as possible. I'm an open book.
Amazing. And I really want to be respectful of your time. I thank you so much for coming on the show. I cannot believe it has already been 45 minutes. It is absolutely amazing. It has been absolutely incredible to have you on the show. You are doing so many cool things. I just am blown away. Happy that we got to do this to close out the first month of the newest decade with you as a guest. And I just wish you the best in all of 2020.
Yay, thank you so much, Sean. You're such an awesome interviewer, and thank you for all your good energy and everything you do in the world.
Thank you so much. Life Transformation Radio listeners, an amazing guest impacting the world around her. If anything has resonated with our conversation today with Anah Reichenbach, please go to deependlight.com. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, right there in the show notes. Connect with her, friend request her, let her know, send her a message that you heard her episode of Life Transformation Radio. And with that, I close the show by saying, live your brand. Find opportunities every day to live out the core values that you hold deep in your heart. And I call this living your brand. So until next episode, live a great life.